G'day, good morning. Hope you're well. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the smidgen of delay. I was trying to pull up the screen to show what today's was, which was this one. I was struggling to get that up. Smidgen of delay. I was trying to. Sorry about that. This is a medical cannabis show that promotes legal activities and organic growing. So respect your law and be sustainable. And today's an open topic. So I hope there's some questions because I'd like to see what everyone wants to talk about and see what's on their minds and see what things some slides I can show to shed some light on some things. Oh yeah. And g'day to Jono, who cares? He's had some spider mite problems over in Thailand. Sorry to hear that, mate. 3 different types of mites, and he decided to pull the pin and start again. That's cool. Yep, it's good. So I said sorry about that. Good morning to GMF. Nice to see you, mate. And GMF says, good luck, Jono, who cares? Chop it all down and clean slates. It's probably the best. Yeah, when an infestation that bad, that's full on. And Johnny, who cares? It's a massive issue in Thailand. Yeah, poor fella. Good morning to Dave. How are you, Dave? Nice to see you, mate. Hope you've got any questions. First, there is some little bit of stuff. The reason why I've been real busy this week, I did have some slides prepared, but there's only a little bit. So I'm going to wait for them to the following week, and there'll be more of them prepared. It'll be more a better show. So I thought I'd just have this in the interim. But some cool things have happened through the week, and I can show you. Share screen. There's a few things I highlighted. This California lawmakers passed psychedelics legislation bill. So they actually passed it in California. So you'll be happy you can get some mushroom PTSD help. And what's the amounts? I'll go scroll down the bottom here. So it's good. So Australia was one of the first ones doing it. And now, I'm still trying. It's just above the bottom where it said the amount, so I remember seeing it. Here it is. So it's mescaline that you get from peyote is 4 grams, and the other psychedelics, which I support, psilocybin or psilocin, that's 1 gram you're allowed. Or you're actually, I think it's 40 grams actually here. This one. Yes. So it's 1 gram of the actual constituent, the main active ingredient, or you can have 1 ounce of the plant. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's fair. Next thing was this one. What's this? This is to talk about Australian government, how unbelievable they are. We're still going to import stuff. Remember, there's a slide I shared ages ago. I don't know if it's still happened, but it was back then. It was fact-checked. It was 17% or something like that, the slide said, but a decent amount of Colombia's medical cannabis was getting imported into Australia. Well, here you go. New Zealand are also getting onto the bandwagon. They've made an agreement with Australia to give Australia 200 kilos. And this company hasn't even gotten off the ground yet, so they've got to put out they're selling shares to try and get their company happening. And I just want to say shame to you, to Australian government, because this is happening all around the world and you're not even allowing Australians to do it. Oh yeah, they'll come back and say, but you can do it. You go through the massive bureaucracy program and have $1 million in the bank, and definitely you can get a start, they'll say. But it's so much hoops to go through and there's so much crap that you've got to do, it's really unworthwhile doing. And as you've seen, there's a few LPs, licensed producers in Australia, have gone bust because of the Australian government. It's sad. But anyway, on the brighter side of it, at least Australians can get access to medical cannabis. Yeah, so there you go. And I'll see if there's any questions. That's about it. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Australia Day thing. You also saw that Australia Day thing. How cool is this? A cannabis activist projected some leaves onto Sydney Opera House. So that's not a graphic art or anything. That's, you know how they put up, they do this in different events. For world events, they'll do it on the Sydney Opera House. And there's some cannabis activist got in and did it. So I thought it was pretty cool. Looks good too. Good on them. Oh, no, that's not it. That's it. Yep, that's... And Labor Day. Happy Labor Day for a few days ago to all the folks in the States. There in the mighty US of A. It's a nice looking Labor Day. Salute for them. Hey, Shipwreck. How you going, Shipwreck? Nice to see you, mate. What's Dave? John, who cares? Say, we are looking at CO2 for bud density. Oh, okay. That's the way, mate. You can also jot down actually here, I brought this on to you. You're probably, CO2 will be too expensive for you. Get organic soil, and that'll give you organic CO2. It's the best way. Grab a CO2 meter, probably your first step. Spend 100 Australian dollars and get a good CO2 data log meter. Don't get a cheaper one than that because they haven't got good sensors in them and they're very inaccurate. Yeah, if you want to do CO2, but it costs a lot of money, mate. I'd suggest going the organic route first. And there's another technique you can do is drop your photosynthesis hours down. Instead of 12 on, 12 off, you can try and go with 11 on or 13 off. And it depends on your cultivar, but that might get it tightens the buds up. Cut a long story short, there's a good study on it. But here, look at this thing. This is what you got to buy, Jono and everybody else. They are really, really good. And you're talking about bugs for a sec. I'm sharing it. This thing, it's a bug zapper. And if you get the LED versions, they use next to no power. The ones with light bulbs in them, so you can change your light bulbs out, they're really good at clone lights. But they use 40 watts of power, depends on the size of it, depends on your light bulb size. But if you, these little tiny ones, these ones here, they're about 50 centimeters long, 1.5 foot. And they've got a grill in it that's of a high voltage grill. So when a bug hits it, it'll zap and fall in the tray in the bottom. And it doesn't have to bridge out. It can just touch one of them. So it gets little tiny miniature no-see-ums, sandflies and things that you can't see. It's just a really good thing for IPM. And they say it covers this. Yeah, well, that's a big if. I'd nearly quarter that. But that's with the high voltage grill that they've got into it, and that's what works. That's how the bugs get zapped out. And the beauty about this is you can put it under your microscope or your magnifying glass, your loupe or your lens, whatever you've got to magnify things, and you can identify it. And it hasn't been zapped or harmed. It hasn't been squashed, because on those sticky traps, they attract and they start and dissolve it and break down, and things break down, and they're not translucent, so you can't really see through it. But on this, you can grab it and identify it quite easily. So it's a good alternative. Oh, and this price too is not the price that you want to pay. You want to pay about 25 Australian dollars for one that's, I don't know, it's 46 centimeters long. So hunt around and pay that price. And it works on, yeah, the LED tubes, not the 20 or 30 watt tubes. That's the ones that you get because they last a lot longer. It's LEDs. I haven't had any problems with them. And mate, yeah, they're rad. I've got a few of them now, quite a few. There you go, everybody. Good IPM tool. put it on with your light timer, and it'll just come on the same thing. And they reckon they got a UVA bulb in them, so it might help in a bit of flower. Cheers. Yes, you know, mate. Nice to see you, Shipwreck. I've seen those in restaurants I've worked in. Ah, that's how I got onto them. I'm qualified Sparky, so I used to work repairing lights I got called out to these shopping centres, and they had those in them, and two of them used to supply the whole of like a Coles or a Woolworths. And so I was fixing one of them, the one broke, and I said to the manager, "You want me to repair it or just get a new one?" He said, "Repair it." I said, "Throw it, I'll just buy a new one." I said, "Cool." So I repaired them, and I ended up with them, and I couldn't believe how efficient they are. As you see, they work in shopping centres, but yeah, and that's the little tiny one I showed you before for the little indoor gardener. It's just as efficient. It's got the same zappy feature, just the different bulbs. That's all. So pretty cool. Yeah, good story. They work great and last forever. Yeah, it depends on the bulbs. I actually got one of them that had the it was I think a 20-watt one, and it had the bulbs that came with it, and they were just the normal T5 bulbs, but they were UVA bulbs, and they lasted 15 hours, a really, really short time, and I had to replace the bulbs, but it still worked after that. It's just a really rad IPM suggestion that really nobody suggests. I wish I had a shop, because I could just steer everybody into the shop that all these products that I use that are good for me. It's anyway, I don't. You just pick up the thing. Purple Thumb. Hey mate, how you going? Okay, I'll get it after the show. Yeah, look at this Purple Thumb. No one talks about this IPM thing. I'll show you, mate, because you're a good bloke. Here, these things, just bug zappers. You pay 25 Australian bucks, not this price, but they work on, you get LED tube ones, and it works on by putting a high voltage across a grill that's mounted inside of it and zaps bugs, right down to no CMs. Awesome. Bug zapper. Excuse me. So today's a bit of a relying on you, guys and girls, to give me some questions, please, or steer me in a direction that we can have a chat. Cheers, mate. Yep, thank you. Word up, man. Jono says, so I run it with the lights on. Yes, you put it on your light cycle, so whenever the lights are on, or if you want to have it on, you can have it outside the door or outside of the room. You might have a couple of them because they're cheap. Have them outside when it's permanently, where there's no light leaks can get into where your normal area is. I used to leave the door open in summertime and see what happens. You get the big, what's those, dragonflies coming in, and they'll go across the two grills on it. I'll just put this up so while I'm talking about it, and it's pretty full on. They're just so effective. They go across. Should be a better shot. Here we go. Oh, it's not a better shot. Well, they go across the two grills anyway, and they arc out a lot faster. So if they touch just one of them, they might get a little bit of electrocution, and it's enough for them to drop in the bottom, and they might still spasm out. But a dragonfly or a moth or something big, it goes in and it catches on nearly fire. It goes, you can hear it zapping, electricity going across it, and then a big smoke pile comes up, and it smells like shit. But it's arrested the insect. And then you might have to turn it off and clean it in between them because it gets full. It might depends where you are, how active your place is, but yeah, they can fill up quite within no time. You just take it off, put a broom to it, just to undo all the grills. But yeah, great IPM tool. Just put it on with your light cycle. Stop sharing. Yes. Add to that. Yes. Screw the moths. Yeah. Well, you get that whitefly. is a little moth, and whitefly is really bad on medical cannabis. It's it just destroys everything real fast. So that's one way that you can, if you got it, you look in the bottom of your little tray thing, and if you've got stuff there, cool. And there's no way of traps or that sort of stuff, because just the sticky traps, they just wear out too. The insect dissolves, and the second thing, I found it hard to identify because I can't put it under the tweezers, or I can't somehow get it onto a slide and identify the microscope. Where this way I can. And it has all the wings intact, and it's just really good to identify it a lot easier. No real questions flying through. Well, what about some bug stuff? I need to get a couple of those for my outdoor next year. Yes, great idea. Yeah, thanks, mate. If you're going to get the outdoor ones, you can get bigger ones. So they're actually 2 feet long. They're about 60 centimetres. And you pay 37 Australian dollars for those ones. So hunt around and try and get them. Wish I had a blooming store, because people are selling them for like $100, $137 for it, and they're selling heaps of them. But it's simple technology. It's just got that transformer, which creates a high voltage, and then it's got 2 light circuits, or 1 series light circuit. So you can get it cheaper. But some other bug stuff. Well, Australia's coming into summer soon. When it starts to get a bit, when the frost goes, you can go outdoors. So what was I going to show you? Some buggy stuff. Some about some sprays or some botanicals. Let's go into that section, see what's going on there. Because it always helps. Because IPM is just so important. Microbes. Yep. Botanicals. Beneficials. No. This one. Botanical pesticides. I'm sharing screen. Good. I'm not happy with this new update that they've done. So this is not really relevant. Let's get some relevant stuff. Classification, no. You'll know what that is. Botanical pesticides. Safe organic sprays. Or you can apply them, I suppose. They don't have to be sprays. You can put them through a soil drench or whatever your substrate is drench. But looking in here, spider mites. So rotten N is one example. So you can go and get some botanical pesticides with rotten N in it and spray that up. You'd want also a couple for spider mites, because they get, excuse me, they get really immune to one thing very fast. So you'll virtually never get rid of them just by spraying one type like pyrethrum. You'll need rotten N and maybe another couple of types too. So it's hard to do that, but by identifying in your traps first, then you'll know what you got. And then if it was me, so I'd see them in the first, because I have to clean my traps out. So I'd see them in the bottom, and I'd go, oh, okay, what is this happening? And if numbers are increasing, or if I knew it's a certain, like a spider mite or maybe a russet mite, something bad, I would go and get the IPM. So if it was for spider mites, I'd go and get the Californicus or Priscillus. Let's go to that page. Still sharing it. There's a big bug chart. Because there's Monterensis on there too. Here we go. Yeah, nice one. Right over here, nice and small. Spider mites. Oh, yep. So for spider mites, this suggests Priscillus, Californicus, and Monterensis. So that's what I would do. It depends on how many I got. If I see more than 4 at any stage in front of my viewing, whenever I'm looking, that means I've got an infestation. I'll probably go and get them all. Or if once I saw maybe 1 or 2 in my traps and I was coming into springtime, that means they're going to more so come in and proliferate full on. I might just get one of the cheaper varieties. Montgenesis is cheap. It's $36 for a big tube of them. So I'd probably just go and get something like that as an IPM. There you go. That's for the whole things. If you're going to refer to it. No, wrong button. Yes. Some IPM stuff. Need to get a couple. Hey, Lene. Top of the morning to you. You well? Spider mites are hell, says Shipwreck. Yes. They're not good. Vacuums are good for the spider mites. Even thrips for me. Oh, yeah, mate, thrips are the worst. I got a pretty good video on the thrips. If I did some really cool experiments on what kills them under the microscope, to see what products I put under there and seeing what works, like reverse osmosis water. There was pyrethrum, I think, potassium, salts of fatty acid. What was the other one? Isopropanol. So that was a good thing, experiment for that. But yeah, it's hard to, once you get them, then you realize you go, oh, far out, I don't want these things again. And for little bits of money that you spend for the IPM, it pays off, especially coming into the spring season or into your, the breeding, when you're coming out of winter, whatever time of the year that is, that's when you want to be on top of things. What else are we going to show here? Biopesticides, botanicals. Okay, so that's, if you want to make your own up, you'll go and get those botanical pesticides. Neem, I don't think works with everything else. Rotman. Oh, yep, so that was one of the things. So where does that come from? Isolated from roots of legume plants. Oh, okay, so that's probably, you're not going to really make your own of that one. Rotman, it's supposed to smell like the rotting flesh. That's the terpene that it puts off. That's rotting. Rotting. Ugh. So you'll identify it pretty easy. I don't know if I'd want it to around. And it's apparently skunkweed. Is it skunkweed? I think the skunkweeds puts off a derivative of that terpene too. What was another one they had up there? Pyrethrins. Yes, these are from chrysanthemums. The dried flowers of chrysanthemums. Another IPM, if you come in, you can make your own. Where's that derived from? Citrus peel extracts, limonene and linalool. Okay, that's a common terpene found in medical cannabis. Remember that limonene was the one that enhances it? So if you have a little bit of limonene in your profile, you can turn 15% THC into 20% THC when you consume it, if this is in your profile. And this talk next week is on how there's two versions of limonene and linalool, which are, what's the limit on about? Well, Terp Talk. Next week I'll be talking about this. Fair dinkum. No, I'm not going to make it. There's a D-limonene and an L-limonene, and an S-linalool and an R-linalool. So there's a few different versions. And yeah, I'll just go into it a bit more next week with Terp Talk. Some interesting stuff. What else is interesting? Mechanisms of action. Oh no, let's get into a bit of detail. Neem extracts and recommendations. That's if you want crop pests to kill, and that's recommended use, like a recipe for those things. So down here for mites, no, I'm not even going to go into this, not to do with spider mites. I study agriculture, plant soil science, microbiology, and try and relate all my slides that I get from that into medical cannabis. So a lot of these things are for agriculture, so you can't relate to them and think you're going to work on medical cannabis. A lot do, because they're a plant, but being specific, some don't. This is pretty interesting. While we're on microbes and talking about it, this is what you've got to be careful of putting into your compost heap, because it repels microbes as well. Well, it's going to kill off and repel bugs in your compost heap, and you're trying to build them up so they can break it down. So you don't want to kill all, like saprophytes, for instance, which is decomposing everything. So it'll just sit there and just stink and rotten and go anaerobic. So these are some interesting things while the slide's up. Antimicrobial activity of different herbal spices. So yeah, if you're having a problem also with your compost, you might look at what you're putting into it, and you might find, oh wow, I'm putting heaps of oregano in, which is causing some down problems down the scale. But once you realise what you're putting in, you can probably fix the problem. All right, that'll do. It's hard for me not to late on. Wow, IPM. Yeah, you got to think about it coming into, you're in the Northern Hemisphere, so you're hot, so you got to do it like nearly right now. And continue it for probably another few more weeks until summer ends. Until, you know, the hot season ends. It's more seasonal, something to do with that's the bugs, they operate with temperature. So it's war around that. So yeah, mate, you've got to be really on top of it. Nearly have it's probably the most important thing, because if you've seen, it decimates crops. So if you're on top of it, you can have things written down. All right, next month, put it on your calendar. I've got to do my IPM. I've got to check this. I've got to do that, you know, and then check your bug traps and then see what's going on. So you'll have sticky traps out now, and then you'll have these bug zappers around. So you combine both of those and then see what is going on. So once you do, you can even get down to a weekly report of what's in those things in your capturing devices of insects, and write it down, reset, write it down next week, reset. That's what I'd be doing. And that's properly monitoring what's going on in your environment. And then you'll foresee any future problems that are going to come up. That's what I do. But I don't work for anybody, unfortunately. Maybe one day. Thanks for those people who subscribed and helped me out. I suppose I should show that. No. Is there any suggestions that I could really talk about? Corpse plants pack. Yeah. Some other biggie stuff. Hey, green bicycles. I've got an open topic today, mate. Have you got any questions I can show some slides on, please? Because I'm really struggling. Chat's is a bit slow, and we've been talking a bit about spider mites, but yeah, there's only so much you can do for spider mites. You suck the vacuums off, you vacuum off the spider webs, and be careful next time. Another cool thing is water. By spraying a lot of if you spray, especially veg plants, with a foliar water, they can't fly away fast, so you can really capture them fast, because they're like, when you're supposed to get, if you've got aphid problems, you get ladybugs, and you're supposed to put sugar in, and that weighs down their wings weight, so they can't fly that well. But what you can do when you've got bugs and insects is, by spraying just normal water, is it's the capillary action holds them a smidgen to where they're going, and then you can squash them very fast, where if you try to squash them normally, they'll fly away. I wish you were over here helping. Well, I'm always up for consulting. Write this down, Jono. It's weednerds@protonmail.com. And I'm available for consulting and helping for people in the legal industry. So yes, weednerds@protonmail.com. Because my memberships are also for helping too. I've got that $250 or $300 one, and that's more so for a company that's to help weekly video calls to set up and stuff like that. So that's an example. John, you should get onto that bandwagon if you can afford that. Click that button, we can do weekly video chats as an example. I'd probably still help you out anyway. So now I've known you for a while. What do you reckon? You wish you were here? Yeah, that's a good way to help. At least its technology is a lot better these days. There's really no excuse for communicating. And no, I'm not going to go on about that. Humidity and veg. Humidity and veg. Yeah. Well, you got to come. Okay, let's talk about that. Humidity and veg. So let's see what slides I got for you. Plant science. What area should we go to that? Humidity, plant growth and development, or water vapor? Okay, let's go. You want a bit of a lesson here? I'll share this plant science bit with you. There's no real question. So humidity in veg has been raised as something to talk about. So the leaves, what a terrible update. Look at that, and I can't even see now where that photo was that I just, where's that photo I clicked? This one. Open. No. There it was. You see that just come up? Oh, mate. These updates. Now I forgot where I was at. Humidity in veg. I just fully forgot where I was at. What a nuisance. Oh, let's see what these photos are. Root system. Yeah, well, if your plants are in drought, they will get a longer root like this. They'll try and look for it. If you've got them happy, they'll put out adventitious roots like this. And that's probably more so like a drip feeder would be here. And this is more like drought conditions, where it has a really long primary root. Its lateral roots are really low. Water and veg. Humidity in veg, actually. Let's not go into too much detail. I remember now. Humidity in veg. Sink and source. All right. Do you want to get that technical? Sink and source cells. So the big leaves are the sink cells. Ooh, excuse me. Is where all the energy goes. Oh, you're kidding, mate. Open. This is spinning. Oh well, sorry about that. The spider mites, humidity in veg was the topic. That's right. I'll try and get back to that. There's been a few questions, a few other things. Dave said for spider mites, he uses Rich Grow Beat A Bug natural-based insect spray, safe to use for edible crops. They use and garlic on chili. All right. Jono's, yep, not doing the best. It's no good, mate. Dave, and it works really, really well. Great for thrips too. Sweet. That's the way. Organic is the word. Good information, Dave. 1969. Humidity in veg. Do you really want me to talk about that? It's a bit of a buggy thing. Put it. Yeah, that was only a bug. Maybe we should just talk about bugs, or what's half an hour's been going. Is that enough for today? I'll share some bug stuff. Some IPM stuff. Microbes. IPM stuff. Drought stress, no. Not really sure what to show. Just going to biopesticides. Let's see what's going on in here then. Biopesticides. This goes on a lot about. It's not there again. I'm having problems with the computer at the moment. It seems to be not, my pictures aren't there. Windows, I think it did an update not long ago, and it's just changed things, and I'm not used to it. Sorry about that. I don't even know what this is. I want to talk about bug stuff. Come on, present. This is still sharing. Oh, it's still even sharing. Oh, mate. Precautions regarding plant extracts. There's some IPM stuff. This is more related. Levels of pest management. You just have to do it. All right, I suppose this might help a bit. This is a bit of a rundown on how you're going to set up a facility or set up a place, and it just shows your different levels of degree of safety that you got to put out there. And I'll just briefly go through these so you can get, look at this, see how the things down the bottom here? I don't want that there. It's not a slideshow. See, look at that, you can't even, good on your Windows. So you got to click it. So press it. I'm disabled and I've got permanent disabilities in my hands. It's very hard sometimes. Selection of adapted. I'm just going to skim through this. You can read it. I'll just stop on the suitable things that I find suitable. You can slow the video down and go back through it later if you want. Crop rotation, intercropping, use of balanced nutrients, supply of organic matter. Organic matter is really the guts of everything. So you have to get a good source of it, and because that's going to be feeding everything, you want to make sure it's not contaminated and doesn't have all sorts of hormones and steroids or antibiotics being put into it. Cultivation, proper water management is a must. A lot of people fail with that because they've got some sort of problem. Fungal diseases germinate in water, so there's all sorts of problems that originate from water management issues. So if there is an area where you are, you consider getting a small pump and putting it under reverse osmosis. That's what I would do. And that would at least eliminate that problem, because if you keep getting issues, you don't know where it's coming from. Well, this problem has to be eliminated because it's a high area of disease and problems, is your water. Conservation, natural enemies. Yes, that's another thing. You're walking into your facility too. People will go outside and then just walk straight into where the girls are and think that everything's fine, but whatever's jumped on them has just jumped off in that beautiful environment they've created for the girls. Selection of optimum planting time and spacing. Yeah. Use of proper sanitation measures is always a blue and must everywhere you go. Good thing that I've gotten a habit in, I don't use as much ethanol because it's very expensive. Isopropanol. In Australia, it's not like I can go down to Walmart here and pay $10 to get a litre of it. You can't do it here, well, that I know of. So we have methylated spirits, and you make a 70 to 30% mixture of that, and that's virtually the same. So you pour in, if you have 1 litre spray bottle, you put in 700 mils of methylated spirits, and 300 mils of water, and that's a good substitute, and it's very cheap. So you can spray all your things, like your shears or your blades or whatever you're cutting with, to prevent transmitting disease. Cover crops, trap crops. Yeah, that's a nice marigold trap crop. So all the bugs will go to it first, not to the plants. It puts out different pheromones and attracts them. So they will want to harbour here and procreate there, not on your valuable crop. Second level, mulching. Okay. Mulching can reduce disease to some extent by reducing soil contact. So it's, yeah, we're talking about more so for IPM. So it's not much solarization yet, killing all of the things underneath it. So you put a plastic sheet down summer and you ping it and make sure that it wants to get above 65 degrees Celsius in a thermophilic range to kill all the pathogens and seeds, weed seeds. And it's got to stay that for a duration. That's how you make your compost. Light traps also, oh, this is good while we're on here. Light traps also pretty rad because they can track moths. And, you know, they turn into armyworms. And worms are bad outdoors. So it's here's a little solar one. It's a little tiny thing set up. It's pretty snazzy. The pheromone trap over here, it has a few scents in it, and they will have it in the bottom here, and then they'll fly through the top here to get into it, into the scent. Say it'll be just under the funnel lid, and they'll fly through it, and then they'll get trapped in there and can't fly out. And you'll know about the yellow and the green sticky traps. Fruit bagging, we don't really have to do that. Biological control is the next stage. Once you identify things, you can see how active your problem is, and then does it need to go to biological control, or can you just do an early harvest and get rid of that substrate and those types of things, and just do a full heavy clean. Types of biological pests, problems, augmentation, trichogramma. Okay, yeah, that's insect. Conservation, natural enemies. Yes, this works very well outdoors. I put a video on how to get rid of spider mites outdoors naturally, and it did it in 3 days. That's a suggestion for you, Jono, that you should have probably done. Yeah, 3 days, mate. Everything was clean. So you could have I could have put it back inside, but it was more of an experiment. I just took one out because I did an early harvest on the run in Canada, and I made a video on this, and yeah, you can see all the bite marks where all of the spider mites were eating at the leaves and stuff, and it had a spider web over the top when I removed it, and 3 days later, fully gone, and it finished naturally outside. So that's also a really good suggestion instead of cutting down. Bit late now, he says. Yeah, I know, mate. Well, if you had a consultation, you might have ended up having a crop. Population dynamics. Releasing natural enemies. Yeah, this is the good IPM thing. For a cat, this is more so outdoors. For BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. And for indoors, the fungi is really good. Trichoderma hazarium is one that I use. And it'll say it next here, Bouveria bassiana. There's another one that I use as well. That puts out a white musculin disease. It's an entomopathogenic fungi. So you can easily see if it's working. So you'll have a little white little fluffy insects that are flapping their wings hysterically, because that means that they've been infected by this pathogen. And it doesn't interfere with any normal or biological, like beneficial insects. It doesn't interfere with them, so it's pretty cool. A few good things to have in your arsenal. You should source those types of things. If you'll probably speak to me, Jono, and I'll put you onto a good source for those types of things, and have them in your kit. Always have them. So when things like this rock up, you can just go after you've identified it and start and do some little IPM things. Neem fixes a lot of stuff. It's very healthy, very handy. I would hope you'd have that in your arsenal, Jono, being in Thailand. Neem applicants. Oh, this is what different things wherever you are. So in the States, you can go and buy it under Fortune, Biotech, as an example. Action neem, it does a lot of stuff. It really helps. And if you want to make it, this is how you do it. The little formulation down the bottom here. 30 grams of the kernels, where there's in the seeds, where it's the azadirachtin is highly concentrated. Soak it Strain it. Pyrethins, another good one. Chrysanthemums, grow a big pile of them, like we saw the marigolds before. That's how to make it. Flowers, similar way to before, just crush them up, put it into water, add some soapy water. That's it, organic, soapy, good for Mother Nature. You might even put yucca in, which is an organic surfactant. Yeah, good. Citrus oil. This is how to make a larger batch. Plant protection. This is like just for a normal IPM. Say if you want to have, it's hard to get urine. I don't know how they get the urine. The only way that I can see is they get it by, this is from cows. So they get it from, you put heaps of straw down where the cows hang out, and then you collect the straw and it's got all the urine in it, so it smells. So this plant protection recipe is water, urine, green chili, and local garlic. So that's what Dave was saying before about how his spray he has with his garlic and chili. I'm pretty sure that was in the recipe. This is a way that you can organically make it too. There you go. It only takes a week to ferment it, and you can spray after that. Another plant protection, neem and cow dung. Cow dung is really good because it's got a lot of cysts, seeds, fungal seeds, micro bacteria, spores that will germinate under the right conditions. So if you've got a high moisture content and you've got a powdery mildew issue, you'll hope that the spores will germinate and eat that and combat that problem. So you can get that from cow dung. It's a really rad to inoculate things. That's why cow dung is always, it's the source of my compost. I'll put down a layer of cow dung, layer of straw, or grass clippings, then cow dung, then grass clippings, and then I'll cover it with a clear plastic sheet so it can absorb the sun's rays and gets hot, and each day I'll tip urine onto it. Yes, that is sourced from no antibiotics and it's clean sourced. And it's after 3 months, it's my organic compost is ready, and it has a very high amount of ammonium in it, NH4. Seed treatment. You can not really talking about that. Soil treatment. If you want to see soil, you can do this recipe too, using jaggery. Jaggery is a plant. Disease and pest management. So preventative measures. So that's what we've, have everything ready, know your seasons, and know it's coming up. Preventative measures, curative measures, to cure it. Disease and pest traps. Use pheromone traps. This is more so on a large production. I'm not going to go into that. Neem seed kernel extract as 5% foliar spray. Leaf miners, I've had them. They're pretty, you can see the leaf miners because under the medical cannabis leaf, there'll be like lines where it actually goes in between the cells. So pretty easily to identify. I put that under the microscope, that one. You can see that too on a video I made. Biological control. Okay, they're going to put that into their field. So they've identified that they had the problem. They've gone and sourced these, and that's how they've released them into the field. So that you'll start and see these insects or whatever they put down, this trichogramma will start and breed under the right conditions, which it has because it's going to be eating all of the problems that they found, and then it'll multiply. So that from this area out, it'll slowly fix the problem. So if they do it at the right intervals, 7 to 10 days, it will slowly eliminate the problem by the time it comes up for harvest. So it'll have a good harvest rate. Yes. What's this one for? Insect eggs, eh? Oh, this is to identify what type of insect eggs you have. I thought it was interesting. Spider mite eggs, there you go. So if you see them, you don't want them. You want these ones, the red ones. Because that's the Priscillus that's going to eat the spider mites. Hoverfly. Right. Oh, here's mealybugs. These are hard to tell if they've got Bouviaria bassiana infected in them because they look like they have white muscarine disease themselves. I've had them, and that's what they look like. You just see this little white, and they're not small. They're probably like, I don't know, half a fingernail. So there you can see them pretty decently. But I still tried Bouviaria bassiana. That's my first really go-to. If I ever see a problem, I'll start and use that. Talked about that a bit. Pesticide reduction of 97% from better education. So these, you can see as it goes on over the years, they've just gone poured in, because the old school way in the 50s used to be use as much NPK as you want, and they didn't care about the atmosphere. So use as much herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. And as we're slowly learning, we're killing the earth. And it's already been killed in China, the subsoil and the ground, and in the States, in the USA, the pest water. I think 98% of it's polluted with pesticides. So as this number is getting lower, it's slowly improving the environment, and you can still get the same outcome. So as education goes on, this is a chart that shows that. Biological control, organics is the go. And you'll end up with something nice like this. You end up with your trap plants down here, your marigolds, as they've called it more, all the problems. And you can get a nice, successful harvest. Don't know. Let's hope that you can use a step ladder as well. Trichogramma life cycle. This took me a bit to learn. The trichogramma is the insect and trichoderma is the fungi. Bit of a catch there. So I use Trichoderma hazarium. I've never used trichogramma. I heard good things though. All right, there's a little bit of a spiel for a while. What do you reckon about that? Oh, very good. And a bit of thrips. Tonic Spoon, g'day mate, nice to see you. Jono, up to you if you want. Hey, GMF. He's cool. Good evening. Just talking, not really sure to talk about, mate. I'm just going on about some microbe stuff because it seemed to be a bit of a Thailand issue. So I was just helping out. Cool bloke. Thanks. I will hire you this time. Yeah, I can't afford to stuff up again. Yes. Oh, here we go. There's a question. Aussie, do ladybugs eat spider mites? Ladybugs? No. Ladybugs eat aphids. Sorry, mate. Ladybugs eat aphids. Dream tree. Yes, it was a dream tree, that one. Very good. Dave's question. All right, let me prove it to you. Let's show some IPM of some aphids. I'm sure I've got something here. Actually, what does that chart show? I'll pull up that for starters. Oh, I'll share a screen so you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to elaborate on some ladybugs. Microbes. This is so hard to do when you're watching. Beneficials. No, I think it's cannabis one. Aphids. Bug problems. Microbes. Here we go. No. Oh yeah, good. Is it? Look, this is two bad things. Yay, Windows. Thank you. You can read my mind. Look at that. That's heavily infested. That's the worst I've ever seen, ever. Look at this, even got red up the top here. So this is spider mites and a chronic infestation. And so how you fix this, you just get the vacuum, a shop vac, and you put it over here, and it goes zoop, and then the bud goes up, it goes, and most of this is gone. And then you have to pull it out manually. But that's the only way I know that you can safely harvest and get a result. That's what I did. But this is that's just bad, isn't it? See how they attract to one area? So you can have look in the background. They would be on it, but they're not infesting, because right where this pocket would be, there would be little wind movement, so they would have been attracted to that area. So yeah, wind also helps. Here you go, Dave. Aphid remedy is ladybugs. Oh, it's not a good photo. You have to trust me though. But that's yeah. If what happens if you put? Actually, I did it years ago. Bugs in Canada. I put some. I remember doing that. I put some ladybugs. I didn't get many of them. Can't remember what happened, but I got a few of them, maybe 100 or a couple hundred, and it was on a bit of card, and I put that in where I had spider mite problems, and they did nothing. They walked away and they flew away. They weren't like this. If you see them like this, that means they're very excited, and there's one up the top. They stay for a reason, otherwise they fly away. And a little hint too, if you do have aphid problems, or if you do have your IPM, your beneficials have wings, put sugary water and spray your bugs with that first. So you'll open your container and spray them quickly with sugary water, and then put the lid back on it, and then go and release your bugs. And then that stops the bugs also flying into your lights. I hope that helped, mate. Cheers. Ooh, burn it. Ooh, yes. This is horrific. Yes, that's bad spider mite stuff, isn't it? That's full on. But it's good to know, you know. Jono, who cares? That's why they didn't work the ladybugs. Oh, yeah. You tried ladybugs first. Yep. There is places that do specialize in bugs, beneficials for agriculture. So you can source them. If I was supporting a company, if I was legally working, you know, for somebody doing my job for medical cannabis, I would have those on hand, and I wouldn't have one supplier. I'd have two suppliers, because some suppliers don't hold stocks. They might be down up into a breeding program. So I might, like in Australia, I only know of one that's very reliable, and that's really the only one I use. But if I was doing it professionally, I would definitely have a couple on hand, because you can't stop the bugs. Like, it's the plants stop doing their normal growth and development and go into their activating their immune side of it. So they won't be producing what you want. The yield will be lower. You might have a better terpene profile, secondary metabolite profile, but you won't have a yield. And being commercial growers, yield is extremely important. That's why a lot of growers have gone bust from the bugs. Not good. Hey, we can go for an hour. Geez, the bugs are blooming amazing, aren't they? That photo, he says, looks like my place. Dead set. You had him that bad. I've had him. Where's my video of it? It's my show. I can show that. All right, you want a tree? Where is that? I'll see if I can find it quickly. I'll pull up a room that I had in Canada, and it's got. I'm sure I would have video, because I'll document everything, and you can see him right up the back there. Let's see if it's on this hard drive. Make noise. There it is. Sweet. Okay, I'm trying to find my hard drive. And then I'll show you the problem that I had in Canada. Uh-oh. It's not working the best. It's making it's going in and out noise. I'll try and plug it through a different cable. And yeah, I was amazed. I had a perfect run. There's not many times in my whole life I've actually had a perfect run. And I had this perfect run until about day 40 odd. When I was doing an inspection, and all of a sudden I see spider mites. And it wasn't a perfect run. There we go. Now it's plugged in. Let's hope this works better. It didn't make the noise though. There it is. There's the noise. It's a bit slow. It's strange. I'm still not popping up. I don't know if you guys have bad computer problems like me, but I get a lot of computer problems. Things like this. It's just not even here. I heard it make the noise and it's gone. You're joking. All right, I'd like to show you though. It's pretty cool because we're right at the end of the video, so you've hung in for a while. I haven't shown much of my Canada stuff. I've made a lot of videos on it. How can I show this other way? Maybe I might have to just, because it's not coming up found C drive desktop. And it should be. It's this little light's on. Oh, and then it just made the noise again. I might have a bodgy cable. That's not going to help. But the light was on. Thank you for bearing with me. It's some good footage. I had a couple of nice rooms in Canada. Yeah, it's not going to work. Just when I tried to talk it up and held people up from doing what they wanted to do. Look at other hard drives, but they're not easily accessible. The screen. It's making the noise, but it's not popping up on my screen. I'm sorry. I was trying to say they got that bad when we had enough of trying to kill them in the end, and the spraying was killing the plants. Yeah, it can get too full on. That's why you got to vacuum and then introduce ethylene and then have an early harvest. And at least by day, you probably have to vacuum every second night, because I had a successful harvest and I didn't spray one bit. What would I do? I just vacuumed actually and moved a couple outside. No, a couple. It was only one. There was one in the corner where they're all attracted to. I grabbed it, moved it outside, and kept using the vacuum, and got a good harvest. Anyway, I'm not going. The thing's not popping up. Sorry about that. Is that maybe on my YouTube? Oh yeah. I'll have a quick squiz on my YouTube. Because there's old videos that I had. I'll show you. I'll at least show that one. I'm getting rid of the spider mite outdoors then. Saves you looking up. How to successfully rid spider mites. Here you go. Open that one. I'll go to the next page just in case there's another video that I haven't released yet. I can give you a showing. There's a couple of unreleased ones. And a flush. What's that one? Oh, do-it-yourself terrarium. What are we talking about again? Come on, don't lose track. Stuff it, I'll just show the video. This one. Play. Stop. Big screen. Oh no, I'll share screen first, hey. Back to here. Sharing the screen. And it's got audio. So I hope the audio plays through for the video. No, that's not it. That's not it either. Very good. Full screen. Link copied. This is it. Gee, I hope you can hear this.
This is Gorilla Glue number 4.
Gorilla Glue number 4.
And spider mites. I noticed it pretty early. One of the room was sort of had a web around it. Just on the top, it was isolated. So I was able to pull it away and mix it up and plant it. So I thought, I can't spray, what can I do here? Well, I can get outside. Temperatures are above 10 C. What's that? 50 Fahrenheit night, so no worries. And that biological control do its thing. And it seemed to work.
It worked really well. You can see all the dots of the spider mites where they were. This is.
There was a ton, like all over it. You can see all the specks. Damage from the leaves. Just nothing now. About
0.
2 days.
Oh, 2 days to clean it up. So 48 hours ago, that had spider web on it. Now look, not one.
Nice. So as a last resort, I spray, put it outside. Let Mother Nature take care of it.
There you go. Well, I can't, my video's still not playing to show one of the rooms. Yeah, so you'll have to remind me another week, I think. What do you reckon? Sound good? Yeah, I reckon it sounds good. So today was a bit of an IPM one. I'll retitle it. Yeah, good luck with your bugs moving into the season. In Southern Hemisphere now, we're starting to transition into summer when it comes in a few months' time. So people who want to start and think about their IPM program, and if it's going to be really bad, they should think a bit earlier of it so they can have a successful harvest and be able to wash their hands nicely. Yes. Well, thank you. Next week, I should have some more slides to add to the terpene one. That was what today was supposed to be, about terps and that, but I didn't have enough to really, it would have been a small show. So I've waited to next week, and there should be more to add to it. So it should be more interesting. So thank you for watching, and appreciate your chat. All the people that chat throw their comments in and all that sort of stuff. It's really cool. Without you, folk, it wouldn't be a show. So I wouldn't like talking to myself. So thank you again. I'll be here next week, same time, same thing, doing the same thing. Bring your questions, and be on terpenes next week. So I hope you have a very good week. Thank you again for listening. Happy growing, happy breeding, and good health to you all. Bye-bye.